Hey, welcome back to Project Freelance. This is your podcast. This is a podcast for you. If you are a freelancer of any sort, if you're a filmmaker, photographer, musician, entrepreneur, if you want to build a career out of your dream job, this podcast is one that you're going to want to subscribe to and tune into weekly, because the guests I have on this show are absolutely experts. They are the masters of their industry, but I also have some people that are still up and coming, still growing, because I want you to be able to relate to these people. So this week on the podcast, I have one of my best friends on here. His name is Bryce Hall. He is a touring freelance photographer and videographer. He's a content creator, guys. This dude has not stopped running since I met him, and running full steam ahead forward, just into the music world, just diving into it always. Right now he is on tour with Motionless in White over in Europe. The guy gets to travel around the world. He has had his fair share of struggles in the industry. He's been screwed over. He's dealt with drama both on and off tour, mental health. This podcast, we do not hold back. If you want to get into the touring world, this is the stuff you're going to need to know. Welcome to Project Freelance. Let's dive in. So I am here with my baby. This is Bryce Hall. Say what's
hello.
up, Bryce.
Yo, what's up, Bryce?
Tell me about yourself, what you do, why you do it.
Yo, that is the broadest question ever.
Exactly. Yeah, I just want you to answer with everything.
Weird. It's weird talking about myself. Okay, well, I'm Bryce, and I tour for a living as a content creator, which involves photography, videography, and then whatever else I need to do on the road, I do. So that's just me. I live my life pretty much on the road, and when I'm not on the road, I'm wishing I was on the road.
Such a nomad. I love that lifestyle. I think it's crazy. We almost live like traveling gypsies. Except we don't really rob people. Well, I mean, no, we don't.
No, it's weird because it's totally reshaped my, I don't know. It's just so 180 from like the normal lifestyle. But it used to be where you go on tour and you're like, oh, I can't wait to go home, be like, cool, back home. But now it's like, when I'm not on the road, I feel lost at home. Wow, I can actually go to the gym every morning, or I can actually cook meals or go to the bathroom or shower whenever I want. This is crazy. Not saying that you can't go to the bathroom whenever you want on the road, but when you're, Kay knows this, and anyone who's tours knows this. If you're touring in a bus or even in a van and you have a 3-hour drive left and someone's got to go to the bathroom, chances are you got to hold it for 3 hours or until they stop and get gas. So it's not the best. It makes touring sound amazing.
Yeah, Warped Tour was, those long ass drives in the middle of the night. You wake up at 3 a.m. and you're like, oh my God, I have to take a shit. And then you go up front to your driver and you're like, hey, so we gotta make this happen. And your driver's like, okay, well, the next gas station is 128 miles away, or you can get a garbage bag and just go to town.
You better grab that garbage bag.
You gotta grab that bag.
The worst thing about that, though, is not even being the person that does it. It's being the person in the front lounge trying to watch a movie or something, and someone's just poop bag, poop bag, poop bag, running through the front lounge and then throwing it out the driver's window.
Oh my God, it's so bad. And I love that you tour full time, because that means you just have so many amazing stories. And I was talking about in a past podcast, how I had this crazy experience with this lady falling out of a wheelchair, and she was all drugged up, and it was crazy. It was crazy.
I heard that the other day. I was listening to it. That's so, yeah, I can just imagine just looking out of your window and seeing that. But then again, I mean, it's funny that you brought that stuff up, because when you were like, oh yeah, but people walk on the bus, I'm like, oh wait, I totally have stories that I completely forgotten about, people walking on the bus. But my best one is when someone walks on the bus and then gets mad at you when you tell them to leave. It's the best thing ever. I had this couple walk on the bus one time, and everyone just stopped and stared at them, and they were like, hey, what's up? How's it going? Him and his wife or girlfriend or whatever. And we were like, can we help you? And he was like, oh, just figured I'd check this out. And I think it was either me or someone else was just like, so do people just walk into your house unexpectedly too? Or do you want to get the fuck out of here? And he was just like, oh, well, fuck you guys. You guys have to live in a crammed bus, and walked out as he was talking a bunch of shit. And that's just how it goes. I mean, that's that happens and you're like, all right, cool. Well, what's next?
Yeah, because at that point you're like, well, some stranger just walked up in my house and then got mad at me for being in my house and said some shit. Like, what?
That's just a separation between like, because people look down. I mean, for the most part, I mean, I feel like a good majority of people they don't understand what we do. Like, even when, like, on this last tour I was on, like, the band was in a bus and there were like a few crew guys that had to ride in a van. And so I was one of the guys that rode in the van. And like, when I would wake up and we'd be in like the middle of a downtown and come out, like the looks people give you for like falling out of a van, like piss bottles hitting the ground, and just like, I don't care. But that's just the separation. It's like they see that and they're like, oh my God, that sucks. And then it's like, well, actually, like over half the people on this crew are probably making more than you make at your normal job. Even if I'm hopping out of a van right now, looks like I make no money. It's not always the case. So it's that separation. They don't understand it. And so they just immediately are like, oh God, what, whatever. I can't think of my words right now. Like, what
I feel like
hooligans,
they,
you know?
yeah, they almost think about us as like homeless people, you know? Like, I feel like, and not to compare us to homeless people and say like we're the same level, because obviously homeless people are struggling more than we are, but I feel like we almost get the same kind of looks and the same kind of judgment, you know what I mean? And then to add on to that, we're all covered in tattoos and we have fucking crazy hair, you know? So like, we're only hurting ourselves, really.
We already don't look like the norm. It's like my favorite thing when the whole band walks in a gas station, the clerk like peeks his head up and is just looking the whole time, because we look like, by society standards, we look like the worst human beings. But like in actuality, I've met some of the most nice, compassionate, loving people on the road that look like, you look at them, you'd be like, oh my God. But it's like, get to know them and it's like, wow, you're just a normal person that just decided to get tattoos. Crazy concept. Crazy.
I know, right? Jeez. It's amazing that people do that to themselves. Wow.
Yeah, weird. Why would you want to tattoo your precious skin and get body modifications? You'll never get a real job.
Yeah. Fuck a real job.
Fuck a real job. It's funny because like I literally have not worked a real job since high school, which is great. I mean, like I worked at AP, which to me still isn't like a normal job, you know, like it was a magazine company, and like even though it was like a 9-to-5 thing, I still feel like it wasn't like a normal thing. But like, yeah, I haven't worked like a normal job since high school, and I love it. And I love it even more when I see people online and they're like, you know, if you think you can make doing photography and videography full time and actually have money and blah, blah, you are sadly mistaken. And I'm like, no, you can. You just have to like actually want to do it and do it. And I think that's what we'll probably get into, because like I mean, yeah, because obviously I didn't just do photo and video to get on the road, but it's gotten me to stay on the road, and that's what I now do full time on the road. So
yeah. So tell me about like how you got started in photography and video work. Like what was that initial thing that like sparked that in you?
I still remember it. It was like Thanksgiving 2007, 2008. It was probably 2007. And my mom had like a little point and shoot, and it was like the MySpace days back then, or like when I first joined Facebook. So it's like, you know, taking selfies all the time with like the little point and shoots, the bad mirror photos where like the flash is going on, but you're also wearing sunglasses, and you know, that whole age. But like we went up to Pennsylvania to visit my grandparents, and it was snowing during Thanksgiving. And I remember I took her little point and shoot out, and I just like walked along. They live on like this property of like big field or whatever, right behind like a big baseball field, but like a elementary school baseball field. So it was like all grass until they decided to cut it like for baseball season. Anyways, so I went out there and just like took some photos of like the flowers that like were covered with snow and everything. And I got really up close. They looked like, you know, all of the depth of field on it, like, you know, that it looked like it was taken like a 50 millimeter or something. So like, it was cool. I mean, and I showed my mom, and she was like, holy crap. She's like, these are really good photos. And I was just like, yeah, whatever. I was a young kid. I didn't think twice about it. And they bought me a camera, like a Nikon D40. Can't believe I remembered that. They bought me a Nikon D40 for Christmas one year, and it was like out of the blue. And I was like, oh, okay. And that thing sat on my shelf for like a year. And then that was around the same time I started going to concerts and shows. And I had met a friend at this Taking Back Sunday show, and she was like, hey, do you want to come to Warped Tour with me? And I was like, I don't know what that is. And she was like, well, why don't you come up to Tampa? I'll meet you halfway, because I live like an hour and a half from any like major city. She's like, why don't you come to the show? And I was like, cool. So I brought my camera along and I just shot from like front row, wherever we were, wherever I could take photos from. And that was my first, and it was Warped Tour. And that was my first show I ever shot in 2009 was Warped Tour. It's crazy. Like I still have the photos on like my like iPhoto. It's crazy. But yeah, that was like the first time I ever shot. And I was like, wow, this is really cool. And I was starting to develop my love for music then too, especially like just finding out about the Warped Tour scene. I remember like seeing like Breathe Carolina at that show. And like I had to stop and watch them. And I was like, this is amazing. I've never heard music like this before. And it is insane. And so I watched like a bunch of bands, fell in love with the scene. And I was like, okay, I want to keep going to shows. So I started going to shows and I noticed people like taking photos. And because I posted those Warped Tour photos, I had Buzznet, get a hold of me. And they were like, hey, we see you're doing photography, in the Florida area. If you want to shoot for us, we can get you into shows. And I was
Wait, from that first Warped Tour?
Yeah, just from like posting photos around and everything. Yeah, because I guess they saw them on Flikr and then they like reposted one and got a hold of me and was like, hey, you are in Florida. I mean, the photos weren't anything special at all. They were just, I didn't even know about editing back then. Like when they were like, oh, edit photos and send it to us, I was like, I would just pick the raw ones and send it to them. Like I didn't know how to edit back then. So they picked me up and I still remember it was so funny. Like my first time I ever got a photo pass was all time low. And it was at the House of Blues in Orlando. And I got it because I walked up to their tour bus and knocked on their bus, and their tour manager answered, and Alex and Jack were right behind him. And I was just like, hey, I'm like an aspiring photographer, blah, blah, blah. Gave him like my whole spiel really quickly. And Alex just like, hey, it's cool. Yeah. Give him a pass. He can shoot the show. Took my name down. I was like, oh shit. Okay. And ran back the line. And I told my friend, I was like, I got it. So that was like the first show I ever shot was that by knocking on their bus. And it's funny that me and you did that video with them earlier this year, because I was just kind of like, that's funny. That's funny. Like, so, but yeah, I mean, and from there, I just started shooting shows and getting involved with that. And I wanted to expand. So I started filming interviews, and I got a camera that could actually do video. And so I'd like take little clips. And it's funny because the first band I ever interviewed was Motionless in White.
Wow.
Yeah, it's funny, but
Bryce does a lot of work with them, so that's why it's great. Wow.
But yeah, I just started doing interviews. I didn't know what I was doing. I used to use like this computer microphone as to like record them. Like it was ridiculous. Like there's still videos online. Like the videos are still on there. I just don't want to take them down. I think they're funny to look back on, but yeah, they were done. They're just generic interviews just to get me like further into the industry. And I mean, it actually helped me because Chris from Motionless remembered who I was back from those interviews. And back then Motionless was smaller, so we kept in contact. And then as they got bigger, we lost contact, but he remembered me when my name got brought up, and he is the one that got me on, the tour with them that I just did. So it kind of comes around full circle. It's really neat. But yeah, I mean, I just started doing that, and then took me up to high school, graduated high school, and the first band I ever toured with was Blood on the Dance Floor. Everyone's favorite band to hate. But they gave me my first shot when I was 18, and they took me out on the road. They took me to Europe with them. Like I toured with them for like 2.5 years. It was awesome, and I learned a lot because the one guy is not the best person to deal with. Actually, he's a shithead, and I'm totally fine with saying that public because he's just screwed over so many of my friends. But he taught me a lot, and by that I mean he was so shitty to me and to other people that he taught me, okay, I know how to spot these people, but I also know what to do in situations like that. So if something gets brought up like a non-payment issue, or kind of trying to manipulate me or throw me around or like beat around the bush when it comes to something, I can kind of pick it up real quick now and be like, hold on, man, like no, like that's not how this is going to work. Whereas if I hadn't had those experiences, I might be a little more timid to speak up about things. So it really helped in the long run. But yeah, it was awesome to tour with them. And that just started my career, and I started touring with this band called Famous Last Words, and that's actually how I met you. I toured with them for a couple years, and it just kind of started snowballing from that. I just kept getting involved with, different people, different labels, and I would tour with whoever I could, and that led me to where I am now. And now I have pretty much all next year, like pretty much booked with Motionless, and yeah, I mean, that's where it's gotten me so far. That's like, I guess, the detailed but quick version of how I got started in the industry.
It's amazing. I love that every photographer creator has a different story of how they got into it. Like I started shooting shows when I was studying and all that stuff, and then moved here and started shooting shows and just grew from there. And it's crazy that like your story is you did one show and then you got picked up, which is very rare. Like you might think it's like, whatever, but like that's super rad that happened, man.
I mean, it's different. I don't know. Like it's weird to say picked up because it wasn't like a big thing. It was just more like I put my stuff on Flikr where I saw like Adam L. Macias putting stuff. Like that's how I found out even about Flikr. And I saw like the photographers I like look up to and thought their work was incredible. They were all putting it on Flikr. So I did, and I would tag the same things they did. So like the same people would look at it, and it was cool. I mean, like it was more looking back on it, it was more like, hey, we want you to take photos, but we don't want to pay you for them, but we'll get you into shows, which isn't really, I mean, it's kind of messed up, but at the same time, it's not, because that's how people like me get their start, and that's how a bunch of people get their start. And I just remember my dad, like, because I lived like 2 hours away from like Tampa or like Orlando or any major city where shows happened. And like every time, and I would go like on weekends, I'd go after school sometimes, after football practice. Like I would like be the kid that like would leave football practice, put on skinny jeans, and like drive an hour and a half just to go see like, Scarlett O'Hara or something. Like it was, but he would always ask me, like every time, he'd always get so upset. He's like, are you making money off of this? Are you making money off of this? And I'm just like, no, the money doesn't come yet. I'm working towards, and he never understood that until I started touring full time and actually making a living off of that. And he's as of recently, or the past couple of years, I should say, he was just like, I get why you had to do that all those years. It's like, I get why you had to, lie to me and tell me you were making some money on the side and this and that and blah, blah, and, so it was, yeah, it's cool to like be able to reach that point and like, get to the point where it's like, oh, because that's the hard part, is that like middle stage of like not getting paid, but still putting like your time and effort into doing it, because, maybe the band will see one of your photos and say, oh, hey, I want to buy those off of you or blah, blah. But like, I never had that happen to me. So maybe, but not that I can like recall. So,
yeah, man. So talk about like social media, like the important, like you were talking about, you were tagging the same people and like, that's how you get your stuff seen. Like talk about the importance of social media and like how you've grown, your business through social media.
I hate social media.
I do too. Oh my God. Thank God. Oh my God. I think it's the fucking dumbest thing ever. I hate that.
I just hate to where it's gotten people now to where people can't, like people are more socially awkward in person now because they live their life through the internet. And they don't, an actual human interaction with people isn't like their forte. Like we're like right now we're seeing like a bunch of kids that like, if you didn't have friends in school, you were the kind of a loner, but you can have friends online. So then when the actual human interaction comes, it's weird or awkward, or people can't hold relationships down, or, things like that. That's why I hate the internet. But I also, 99% of my job is posted through the internet. So I hate it, but at the same time, there is good to the internet, but I shouldn't say the internet, social media, but yeah, I mean, social media has been, I'd like to say it's been a huge, huge part of me getting to where I am. But I don't know. Because a lot of my jobs have been through like, my portfolio and my website and things like that, which, would you consider that social media as well or no?
I would personally, just because the same things, kind of the same things we post on our social media typically go on our website. But it's just like the best collection of our stuff. And I feel like Instagram is almost like a mini portfolio that's just like, hey, I like this shit I shot.
Yeah, it's just so weird that all the like for the most part, all content that you shoot besides of like album covers or, pictures that go on posters and album stuff and things like that, like for the most part, all that stuff just lives online social media, which is still so weird. But if you're going to consider like websites and stuff then I mean, yeah, social media has been a huge part because I mean, obviously it's where your work gets stowed, and you're right. Like Instagram has become like a mini portfolio now. Like when I send out, inquiries to work with certain bands or to work with certain artists on something, I say, here's my portfolio, here's my website, and here's my Instagram feed. Like that's added into my pitch now because I don't post anything. Well, besides the one or two here or there, but I don't really post anything besides like my work. Like my professional work is all I really post on Instagram. Occasionally there'll be like a photo of myself or like my boyfriend or something like that. But like for the most part, like it is strictly like just my professional work. So I guess the more people that you take there, that will just help you in the long run. I mean, I did say I hate it, and I don't think it helped my career that much. But I mean, because I want to think that most of like my jobs and like referrals are through people who see my work in person, but like on my computer, or like bands that I'm touring with give recommendations. But since we're going to go with like the websites being social media, I mean, I guess I owe a lot of it to social media just for the mere fact of like, hey, we like your work, we saw it on your website, or like giving a pitch to a band and being like, hey, here's all my work, and being able to go to that website and see it. And now with Instagram, like you said, becoming the new mini portfolio, it's so much easier for like a manager or something to be scrolling through Instagram and see, oh, that video is cool. Who did that? Oh, click on their profile. And then it's like, oh, here's a bunch of stuff, and that's why I only really post professional things on my Instagram, is just because when I want someone to go on there, I want them to be like, oh, wow, here's all my work. Not like, okay, here's a selfie, here's the park, okay, here's a good photo. And I mean, but it's different for everyone. That's just personally how I like to do it. I know plenty of people who don't do that. I contradict myself because I also don't like when people do double Instagrams. I feel like all your stuff should live on central. I know you do it, and I'm not like.
I have like 5 Instagrams. No, I get it, because I'm like, I hate it too. Trust me. No, come on, catch these hands. Let's go.
All right. Okay, you're actually an idiot. You should. But no,
you should quit.
I personally think that like all your stuff should live one central. Like last thing is, if like at least if I was a manager looking for someone, I want to click one link and see all of your stuff, not like, here's this link. Okay, this is like more of their personal one. Click this link to get the other one, and click that link. Okay, let me check a link to their Facebook page. Or I just think everything should live like pretty central, and that's why I really only post on Instagram, just like mostly my professional work on there. But I feel like I've gone way off track with the original question that you asked, or I'm just taking super long to answer it. But no, I mean, yeah, it's cool. I mean, and I'm able to connect with so many people through Instagram, which, as much as I say I hate it, I do love it in that sense too, because I've got to connect with people who I never thought I'd be able to connect with, or just even like photographers, and to see like other people's work and perspective and be like, oh, I never even thought about doing that. And then, trying to mimic that, or trying to get inspiration off of that. Or, I mean, I've found so much new inspiration from following more people that do video like me and you do, like on tour. It's crazy. Like just because of like one or two people I found on Instagram, I've completely changed the way I edit, just because I had the want to actually learn more and be like, wow, their videos are so much better than mine. I want to be on the level they're at. There's no reason why I can't be. Because I feel like it's so easy to just like find what you're good at and what works for you and stay with that, because oh, well, they like it and I think it's okay. So as long as I'm getting paid and they like it, that's cool. But I as of recently, I found that new spark to want to learn more and to want to be the best I can be, because not a lot of people get to do this in the industry. So why would you just want to be okay with being okay? You want to be the best. And that is something that I never really had the spark to do until recently. So
that's crazy. Yeah. Like I feel like we had different types of education. I have a degree, you don't. I studied film.
Damn, all right, just coming for me right off with that. I'm just kidding.
No, but I'm saying like it's still so interesting how we're like at the same place, we still have the same type of job, and like we still do the same types of things, and you just self-taught you taught yourself.
Yeah, and that's like as of recently, like because Rick and Ryan in Motionless, they do a bunch of photo and video as well. And Rick has like, he went to school for it, and me and him were having a conversation, and it's the same thing I run into all the time, where I love that I'm self-taught, but at the same time, I also don't want to go online and watch tutorials how to do things, because I can't, like, I just don't have the, like, I want to be able to do that, but I just don't have like the attention span, or just the willpower, I should say, to just sit down and learn new things. Sometimes I will, but I guess that's like the thing about being self-taught, is I don't want to go learn new things. I want to learn them myself. And as of recently, there's been a lot of things that, like, I've been taking the long route to do, and someone's like, oh, there's like a little switch. Like, I didn't know, and it's going to make me sound like the biggest idiot, but like, I didn't know that if you're in manual mode on a Sony camera, there's a button that you can press that will autofocus even when you're in manual mode. Like, yeah, see you shaking your head and smiling. You can't see her, but she's like making me look like I'm an idiot. But yeah, no, like when Rick told me that, I felt like the biggest idiot on earth, like, because I didn't know that. But that's just me being self-taught and being at the point where I'm like, I'm not going to read any manuals about anything. I want to do it since I've done it as a kid and just figure it out myself.
Why would anyone read a camera manual? Like, I don't understand. Like, I'll figure it the fuck out.
I know, but like he knows techniques for shooting, and he knows like the different like picture profiles in each individual one and what they do. And like, for me, I don't, like, I go off the suggestions of people that know what it is, and like, but and that's where I don't know a lot. Like, he can tell me exactly what the different profiles mean, what they're better for. And I'm like, yeah, I don't know. I film like this and it looks good and I can edit it this way, so it's cool. And that's just something that, like I said, finding that new spark as of recently, I haven't been doing that. I've been actually going and reading things and looking things up and actually wanting to learn more about the camera I'm using, but I just haven't for the longest time. And like, but I love being self-taught, but at the same time, I do kind of wish I had some kind of like schooling, like I couldn't do it because I couldn't do it after high school, even though that's what I was going to school for. I was already like gotten enrolled and everything, but I just didn't go. Just because I had to tour. Like, if I wanted to make this like a career, I had to, like, I got this opportunity, I have to go take it now, because I don't know when the next one will come. So I just took it. And if I wouldn't have taken it, I wouldn't be where I am now. But I do kind of wish that, at least in high school or something, I would have had some kind of education. But I mean, whatever, it is what it is. I mean, I'm here, so.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually also, I have the bug. I want to learn more, but I'm studying right now to get my FAA license for my drone, so I can like fly for the government and like search and rescue and shit.
That's fucking awesome. What the hell?
Right? And like, I reached out to this pilot that's in Southern California, because we met because I was shooting a music festival, and it was like at the airport. There was an air show. It was crazy. So I met like the director of he's like the executor of whatever. He's like in charge of the airport. And I was like, hey, so I don't understand any of the wording of anything I'm studying, because it's all like pilot jargon. Like, it's like 78 nautical like miles off the like, I'm what are you talking about? So I'm like, hey, can I just ask you all these questions? But yeah, like I'm so excited to learn stuff, even though I'm like, I know how to fly a drone. I'm like, but do I?
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
I'm learning all the like little hidden laws that you don't know about, and like there are actually ways of not getting in trouble for shit.
Yeah, I just kind of fly and pray. I don't follow any regulations. If the FAA is listening, I'm lying. But yeah, I just kind of fly it and land it and run back inside and hope that there is no one looking for me. So yeah, that's awesome. I should probably look into doing that myself so I can get it registered so I can fly all around, but whatever.
Because like, I could fly in stadiums and stuff.
Yeah,
which is tight.
I mean, so can I, but I just, because I guess you can get in a lot of trouble, but I just haven't yet. So I'm just, maybe I shouldn't have said that. Watch me get arrested. We heard Kay's podcast, and yeah, your negligence for the FAA laws. Yeah, give us your drone, and we're gonna throw you in jail.
We're gonna throw you in jail forever.
Forever.
All right, so we're going to talk about staying on the road. And I personally, like, I spend, not a whole lot of time on the road every year. I spend like 2-3 months, maybe like max. And that's just because I haven't been able to like get jobs one after the other, but I'm okay with that because I like being able to work on other projects outside of music. But you have a completely different take on this.
Yeah. Well, for a while, I was definitely like tour bust because when I would go home, like I was still living in my small town in Florida, and I was just like, okay, all my friends are gone, or my eyes have been like opened up from the road. And because I live in a very small conservative town, so most of the people I used to hang out with were very small-minded individuals as far as like being extreme racists and, homophobic and everything in the book. They were, in retrospect, kind of the worst people, but it's just how they were raised, which isn't an excuse when you get to a certain age and you can think for yourself. But, if that's all then, that's a different discussion. I don't want to get into that. That's like a rabbit hole I do not want to get down. We can get into it.
Dude,
after,
I just watched I watched 7 KKK documentaries last night. So yeah, we could talk about some crazy shit.
Well, we can make a new podcast and just talk about other shit. Anyways, so, I would come home and I wouldn't really have a lot of friends to hang out with, or they wouldn't want to hang out with me because I lived this weird lifestyle and it wasn't the norm and they thought I was screwing up my life, whatever else. So bottom line, when I came home, I was pretty bored and lonely and had nothing to do. So I was like, okay, well, I'm just going to try to stay on the road as long as I can. And when I was with Famous Last Words, I remember that was right after I had stopped working for Blood, and Blood didn't really lead me to anywhere because they just did headliners. So they were kind of the biggest band. And the bands that were under them didn't really want to work with, anybody that was involved with the crew with Blood. It was hard, and I just remember the same friend I went to Warped Tour with, her name's Erica, the same one that brought me to Warped Tour for the first time. She's still one of my best friends, and she was just going on and on about this band. She loved Famous Last Words. Oh, they're so good. They're like really cool. We hang out every time they come into town. Like, they're becoming pretty good friends of mine. They're awesome. And as a joke, I was like, I'm just going to apply to be their photographer, and if it happens, that would be funny. Like, I didn't think it would happen. It was just like a random, like, I'll just do it. And their manager got right back to me and was like, hey, yeah, actually they were on tour with Our Last Night at the time. Back when Our Last Night was like small, they were playing small rooms and no one was showing up. They were like, yeah, hey, we're coming through Tampa. We'd love for you to hop on with us. We can't pay you though. And I was like, that's fine. I was like, I just need to get involved with another band. So I went on tour for free. I guess the number one no rule, but that's not a no rule for me because everyone has to start somewhere. It's not to, obviously you don't want to go to like a big band and say, hey, I'll work for, half the rate your current person is, or I'll work for free. It's like, that's shouldn't fly ever. And if it does, then shame on that band for doing that. If you're at that level, you can afford someone better. But, for these bands that literally they're losing money every night, they are okay with taking someone out. So I said, okay. And I came out, and it was so funny because I met up with them. They were broken down and missed the show. So I met up with them because they were kind of close to where I lived. So I met up with them. And my first memory, before we even did a show, like no show had been played yet. I had not seen them perform. I didn't know any of their music. I knew nothing about them. I was woken up at 7 a.m. by the whole band screaming at everyone to wake up because the RV broke down in a toll booth on a Sunday morning. Yeah.
Oh my God.
Yeah. And so I remember like we pushed the RV like half a mile to this rest stop in Orlando. And we just sat there, and the whole band was just so defeated because I guess they'd been dealing with this for a while. And I was just this chipper, like, oh, it's fine, guys. Like, we'll be okay. And I remember the singer looked at me, JT, and he was like, hey, man, if you want to go home, like, you can call your parents, come get you. Like, we won't be upset. And I was like, dude, hell no. I'm going to stay with you guys. And I did. And I went on that tour, and it was the most fun I had. We broke down almost every day. We missed a bunch of shows. But it was such a fun time. Like, they were the best people. And it was the first group I had toured with outside of Blood. So they were doing another tour right after that, and they were like, hey man, like we would love to have you come with us, but we can't pay you. You're more than welcome to stay with us and be our photo guy, but we cannot pay you. And I was like, okay. I was like, well, do you need a merch person? And they were like, you know how to do merch? And I was like, no, but I will. And they were like, okay, like, yeah, if you want to come out and do merch, we can pay you to do merch. And I was like, sick. And I learned how to do merch. And And it was that in that moment right there where I was like, oh, I can take on multiple jobs. And being with them, wasn't the TM, but I started taking over roles and kind of being the unofficial TM, not official TM. But I would do merch, and I just so funny. Like I would sit at merch, and then like when kids come up to buy merch, I'd ask them if we could stay at their house that night. Like didn't want to sleep in the RV. It was cold or too hot or whatever season it was. But I used to just sit there and ask kids to stay at their house. Anyways, that's off topic. But
That's amazing. No,
but,
that's completely on topic.
but no, I mean that principle is what I kind of lived by for the next couple of years touring. Someone would be like, "Hey, can you TM?" Yeah, sure, I can TM. And then literally right when I got off the phone with them, I would call my friend who TM'd another band I was with and just be like, hey, can you send me your spreadsheets? Can you like give me the rundown? Like I just got asked to TM and it's going to fill up the next 3 months. Can you help me out? And he would, and then I'd go on the road and do it. I've stage managed before, and I don't like, I shouldn't have done stage managing, but I did. And I did it to the best of my ability, which was well. And it got me another job on the road. And I would always, do TM and photo or merch and photo or, stage managing, merch, photo, and TM. Like, I did a lot on some tours, but that because I tried to make myself a valuable asset so I could stay on the road, because that's what a band needs. Like if you're just out there doing photo and the band can afford you on one tour, but they're doing a smaller tour next and they have to cut one thing, well, sorry, but you're the bottom of the totem pole. And that's what I always understand. Like you're even below girl. Like the only person that could be under you would be like a friend that came on the road. And chances are like the band likes the friends around more than, they want photos. And as shitty as that sounds, you are just bottom of the totem pole to everybody on that tour. So if someone has to get cut, sorry, you're probably one getting cut. So you have to make yourself an asset on the road so people want to keep you around. And that's what I did. I didn't just do photo. I was the merch guy. I was the TM, like I just said. And that just got me to the point where bands would be like, okay, we want you to come back out. I'm like, cool, what am I doing? And they're like, just photo and video. Sick. That's awesome. And like, it got me to that point. But even like with Motionless, like, I don't think you said it, but like, I just did my first tour with Motionless in White. And I was only hired on to do photo and video. Like that was my only job. But first day I got there and they didn't really have a specific person doing VIP. It was more like, hey, these 4 or 5 people are all going to help out every day and make VIP happen. And I had done VIP in the past. And so I was just like, okay. And then the first day, everything was so hectic that the TM was like, hey, can you just handle VIP today? And I was like, yeah, no problem. So I just did all VIP. And afterwards, they were like, that ran really, really smooth. And I was like, cool. Can I just take over VIP? And TM was like, yeah, if you want to, go for it. And I took over VIP and it went well. And I think that's a reason why I'm going to stay with them next year, because like Chris came up to me one day and was like, hey, we need, a VIP coordinator for the UK. Like, and we want you to do photo and video. So, do you want to come to the UK with us? And I said, okay, that's fine. Yeah, they're not going to do VIP in Europe, so I probably won't stay with them for Europe. But for at least the UK portion, I will be there because they need a VIP coordinator and a photo and video person. So if I hadn't done VIP, I don't know. Maybe I wouldn't get asked to go to the UK. Maybe they'd find someone over there to do it, because obviously flights over there are expensive there and back when you could just find someone over there that can do it. But because I made myself an asset and did more than one job and wore multiple hats, they saw that and they said, hey, we want to keep you on. So, that it's just making yourself more than just a photographer and videographer. Like, yeah, that might be the only thing you can do. But, if you want to tour full time and stay on the road and get better gigs, you could probably do it doing just photo and video, let your work speak for itself. But that's not everyone's case. There's some people, I have friends that do what we do and they have never had to work another job on the road, which is awesome. Like, I like doing multiple jobs because I hate that long gap in the middle of the day where I don't do anything. And I do VIP, so that's good for me. But I know people that don't, and good for them. That's awesome. If they didn't have to go through those times, more power to you. I think that's sick. But like I said, everyone's story is different, and sometimes people have to do what they can to stay on the road, and that's what I did. And I would gladly even take a merch gig for another tour. I love doing merch, so I'll gladly do it. I'm on Bobnet every day, just kind of looking. Like, who knows? Maybe I've gotten a random pop tour because of that one time, just doing merch for a random pop artist. Didn't even get hired on to do photo and video at all. Just kind of took photos on the side. But, sometimes you got to do what you got to do to stay on the road, especially if you want to do that so much. And for me, I did, because I did not want to go home. I wanted to stay on the road all the time.
Talk about the website.
Well, that's a broad...
explain what it is. How do you get jobs off of it?
Who, Bobnet?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I'm sure people listening have no idea. And then we'll talk about your website.
Well, I was like, website, there's like a trillion of them.
You're like, there's a lot on the internet.
Yeah. Bobnet, for people who don't know, Bobnet is a website where if you are a touring crew member of any kind, this is kind of the place where there's threads and job opportunities. So it used to be on Facebook, and now it has its own website, but it's a paid membership. It's only like $25 for like the year or something. I could be totally botching that, but it's super cheap for like a year. It's super cheap, but they have two categories. One's a young gun section for people who don't have a lot of touring experience and want to get their foot in the door. And then there's, I don't know the other category, what it's called, but maybe veterans, I don't know, but people who have been touring for like longer than 3 or 4 years. And there's postings on both sides. There's like TM postings, crew ones, local crew, and you can go in there and apply to get jobs. And because it's a paid membership, it's not open to everyone. So, and you also have to send in your resume before you can even join the site. So it's not like you can just pay a fee and get on. Like, you have to be approved by the admin to actually go on there. So you have to be in the industry, or at least have some experience in the industry to get into that. And because of that, they find people on there. So and there's big tours on there. I mean, I think I saw someone got like a Fall Out Boy tour from there. Someone, just because they needed like a crew person, they don't ever post what bands they are or anything. They just say, hey, crew guy needed, 5+ years experience. This is the salary. This is what you'll be touring in. How do you feel about it? Email us if you want to apply. You email them with your resume and cover letter, and you hear back. And I got a random pop tour through Bobnet one time, and it was super strange, but it was awesome. And the person I was with, we supported Marine in the Diamonds for a couple of weeks, and it was a whole different world, like compared to like Warped Tour and like the small venue metal scenes. And I was like, whoa, this is like actually like insane. So yeah, you can just get a bunch of different job offers or opportunities there. So that is what Bobnet is, and they didn't pay us to say that. So, but they could. I mean, they could. But Bob, Bobnet, if you're listening and you want some, sponsorships, Kay's got a podcast.
I'm ready to go. Let's do this, Bobnet. That would be fantastic. I'm going to reach out. We're going to figure this out.
That would be cool.
I had no idea that was a thing. And that's why I was like, I don't know what that is. Tell me more. That sounds amazing.
There's like secret groups like that all over. Like even like there's I think you're in the group too. There's like a Warped Tour group for just people who have been on Warped Tour. And there's a lot of jobs you post on there too. But it's like, it's cool because a lot of jobs you get in the industry are from word of mouth or recommendations. Like, your work can be the best work ever, but sometimes if you don't have the right recommendations or know the right people, then you could get passed up. And that's growing up and listening to people that like I looked up to, like, El Macias or other photographers, and they would always say, it's about who you know, it's about who you know. And I used to say, that's the biggest load of shit ever. Like, it cannot just be like that. But now that I've spent a few years in the industry, it is like that. It's, you never know the person you meet. And, if you meet someone that loves your work and, they work for, I'll give you an example, actually. So I don't know if you know Josiah, who works for Shawn Mendes.
Yeah.
Yeah. He worked for Pierce the Veil his first tour ever was with Woe Is Me. He went out with Woe Is Me. Way back when, the tour they were supporting Pierce the Veil on. He met Pierce the Veil, got in with them, toured with Pierce the Veil. Pierce the Veil, I think their TM, one of their crew guys at the time, him and Josiah became really good friends. That guy left, started working for Shawn Mendes when he was small, and hit up Josiah and said, hey, this kid's going to be big. Like, we need a photographer. I love your work. Do you want to come out? He said, sure. And now he's been with Shawn for 2 years, and Shawn's one of the biggest artists in the world. And you would think, from like an outside perspective, you would think, oh man, they must look really hard for like good photographers and like only hire the best ones. But it's like, a lot of people it's from who you know and getting your work out there. I mean, look at Elliot Ingham. Like, he's working for Fall Out Boy and Black Bear right now. Like, insane. And he started out touring with, I don't know if he toured with anyone before Neck Deep and State Champs. I'm sure he did, but that's bands that took him everywhere and got his name around, and he met the right people. And now he's working for a band that he probably grew up listening to. And that's how a lot of jobs happen. It's how, people get those big gigs. It's not from a Bobnet post. It's not from, I don't know. I feel like just a lot of it's just so word of mouth and just your friends hooking you up or, whatever. So.
I feel like I talk about this all the time. I feel like a lot of what we do relies on building a relationship with people. Because, if you have the best photos in the world, but you're a piece of shit, why would people want you around, And that's why recommendations are so important. And I know you and I have talked about like photographers or creators will post shit on social media, like speaking poorly of their employer at the time, and that's not going to help you in the future. No,
not at all. And it's human nature. Everyone has to vent somehow. It's because, things get rough on the road, or in anything in general, things get tough. But yeah, it is about the friends you make and about the people who you become friends with and love your work and love you as a human being. Because a lot of this world is just being a decent human being. You get so far by being just a good person and being able to hang out with everyone and be a good hang while also doing your job good. If you do your job good and you're a good person to hang out with and be around and you're not a shitty person, then that's how a lot of jobs get had too. But yeah, you have to be a good person. That's bottom line. I have toured with so many people who are just the shittiest human beings ever, really just in all aspects. And a lot of them don't tour anymore. A lot of them don't get past a certain level because this is a small industry. Word spreads. If you're a good person, you do good work, your name will get around and people will start wanting you. My friend Sam was working at the Emerson Theater for years and got picked up by Ice Nine Kills and killed it. He's one of the best front of house guys I've ever heard. And before you knew it, he's getting offers left and right to go out with other bands because they see his work and they say, whoa, that sounds amazing. You're good at what you do. And so it gets around. And that's because Sam's a solid human being and not a shitty person. And he also does great work. And that's what you have to be. You have to put out good work, but you also over half of it is being a good human being. That's it. If you're a good person and you do good work, people want to keep you around. If you're a shitty person, put out good work, you're not going to want to be kept around. And I hear it all the time. Bands talk, people talk, they say things behind closed doors. It happens. If you are not a good person to be around, people aren't going to want to have you around. You have to live with these people. You're with them for 20 hours a day, that's if you get 4 hours to go out by yourself, you have to learn to live with people, even if you hate them. I've had to put on a nice face for people that I can't stand, but, I'm not going to cause problems on the road or, not be friends or act like I hate someone. I'm going to put up with it. And then, then I don't have to see that person again if I don't want to. And that could be, that could be someone saying oh, that's fake, but I think it's more of just not causing problems in the household,
Yeah, you have to. Yeah, it's the same. You wouldn't yell at your parents or, you know what I mean? You have to live with them. You don't want it to be worse for everybody.
Yeah,
by causing more drama.
Yeah, and not every group's like that. It's very far and few between, especially now. Now it be I'm at the point where I can be picky and I don't have to take every tour offer I get. And if someone gives me an offer that I don't get along with some of the people, I'm not going to take it because I know it's going to be weird or it's not going to be fun for me or them for a month or two while I go out with them. And then there's groups that I love every person in that band and I constantly ask them, let me know when you have room because I'd love to join your crew. So, it's also meshing with the right people, but it's also learning how to deal with every type of person. You are not going to get along with everyone on the road. That's with life. You're going to meet all different types of people on the road, but you're not going to like all of them. You're not going to get along with all of them, but there's no need to be that bitchy person or that shady person on the road. Just be a good person, say hello to everyone, even if you don't like them, and just do your job.
Yeah, it's pretty simple, but I feel like a lot of people forget it. And it's definitely hard when you're out there and you're in it, when you're in the drama situation or that you're going through something with the other people on your bus. And that I've been through this kind of stuff and it's definitely hard to navigate the tour world whenever you have to live with those people that you're like bumping heads with.
Yeah, totally. And there are situations you get put in that it will be just that, you living with someone that doesn't like you don't like them, or you're butting heads. But it's just like, at that point, it's just like, put your head down and do your work. And like, because that will look a lot better than it being an awkward situation every time the two people walk on the bus or in the same room. Like, yeah, it's weird. Like, even like, it was so funny, like on this last tour, me and AJ from Motionless, he's a stage manager, like, me and him were just having bad days and got into it one night and both left the argument like yelling at each other. And immediately when we both cooled off, we were both like, fuck, I don't want to be mad at this person, and I don't want them to be mad at me, but I don't want to be the first person to say something afterwards. So we didn't see each other till the next morning, and literally just like ran and gave each other a hug. And we were like, we're never going to fight ever again. Like, and it's just that kind of thing. Like, arguments happen and things happen on the road, but you guys are a family, like, essentially, especially when you like love everybody in your crew, like, unconditionally. Like, it's like a big family. And like, that's what I found with Motionless, which is amazing. But yeah, when you get with a crew like that, it's great, but not all crews will be like that. And you just have to go in remembering that. And that's why I always get super nervous before I join like a new crew. Like, and I did it twice back to back, three back to back. I did Hands Like Houses, which they're just the best people in the entire world, so it's totally fine. Motionless, and then this Juggalo group called Twisted. And like, all three of them were insanely awesome, like best people ever. But I got lucky with that. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes you don't mesh with people. Sometimes there's someone with a hard exterior shell that they don't like new people, so they'll treat you like shit for the first tour just because that's their coping thing or whatever. And it happens. That happened on my first tour. Like, half the crew hated me because I was the new guy, but it wasn't anything against me personally. It was just because they had seen so many crew come and go that they weren't going to try to get close to some kid who was probably not going to make it on the next run anyways. But I did. Now I'm good friends with all those people. So,
do you have people from high school or, when you were younger, hit you up for like, hey, I want to go to a show, or like, hey, man, how you doing? You know what I mean? Do people ask you for favors and shit? Tell me about that, because I love talking about it.
It's been like very far and few between. My high school career with like the people there were very weird. I like got outed in high school behind my back the beginning of senior year. And the person I was in high school I was already like the kid that listened to different music that no one else listened to. But I was also kind of outgoing as well. But, in school or in situations where like someone would be very annoying talking or outrageous, and everyone's just like, oh, I wish someone would just tell her or him to just shut up or just to leave. And I was the guy that was like, okay, cool. Hey, shut up. Like, I was that person. And I just thought everyone thought I was an asshole all of senior year. So I was just like, whatever. They thought I was a weird kid anyways, because I would like shave half my head and come to school. And I went to a small Christian school too. It wasn't a public school. It was a small Christian school. So that uniforms and everything. So that I probably should have said that before, because everyone's like, what? Who cares? But yeah, 20 kids in my graduating class, small school. I was always like, yeah, shave half my head. Like, teachers would ask me, can you please shave the other side? But anyways, but yeah, I got outed in high school, like behind my back, and didn't find out until after I graduated. So senior year, and again, small conservative town. So senior year everyone didn't like me, which is cool. I didn't give a shit, but I didn't talk to a lot of those people. But now that they've moved on to college, some of them are more open-minded and have reached out. But no, I mean, I have two of my best friends, my two best friends from high school. They like just came and saw me on tour recently, but I keep in contact with them all the time. And they never asked me for favors or anything. They're just like the only really two people from high school that I keep in contact with. I actually just recently got hit up by an old friend from high school that wants me to come shoot his wedding. Because he saw my work and he's like, hey, it's really cool. I'd love for you to come shoot my wedding. And for that type of stuff, I'm definitely down with. But like every once in a while I'll get hit up from like an old high school person, and they're like, hey, you should come, take pictures here or do this or blah, blah. And like most of the time they offer compensation, but it's a lot of time I don't want to see those people. So I just say no. But yeah, it's far and few between. I mean, I'm sure someone who went to school with like a lot of people or anything, like, but also those people don't listen to the music I listen to. Like I saw a lot of people a few years ago when I shot for MGK for 2 nights in Florida. I was going out to see Casey and hang out with him. And he was just like, hey, bring your camera, we'll shoot the show. And I was like, cool. So I shot him for 2 nights, and I saw a lot of those people there, and a lot of them were like, yo, what's up? And I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not. I'm good. Like, you guys can do your thing. But no, not really. I don't really have a lot of people that hit me up and ask me like for favors or anything. Like, it's more so like bands I've done like small favors for on the road, or see my work and they're like, hey, I want to work with you, but we don't have a lot of money, and things like that, asking for like favors, like, oh, hey, if you shoot us a music video now, we'll pay you double for the next one, or whatever else. But no, I mean, not really. I mean, do you get a lot of people that hit you up?
Not so much like for favors, but I mean, I'll get hit up. I don't know. It just depends. It depends. Sometimes I'll get hit up by people I literally just met. They'll like hit me up on Instagram and be like, hey, can I shoot this show? I'm like, I don't even know who you are.
Yeah. I get that. I get that a few times, but I also like with those situations, I'm very like, I see myself in those people a lot, because I'm sure if social media was around when I was that young, or shouldn't even say that young, but when I would probably be doing the same. So for a lot of people, I'll say yes, and I'll let them come shoot, or I'll be like, sure, why don't you shadow me for the day or something? And they'll do that, which is really cool. But yeah, I mean, not so much high school. I mean, there's some people that will come out and just like try to get to know me again, and I'm just like, I'm okay. Like, I don't know. Like it's kind of like bitchy of me, I guess you could say, but I just like, I don't know. Like, we weren't really friends in high school. You were just someone I saw every single day and had to be friendly to. And you kind of realize that when you graduate high school, that, oh yeah, I wasn't actually friends with those people. I just had to deal with them every day. So I was friendly. Yep. So you
didn't have a choice.
Not really. Yeah.
It's like touring with people.
It's literally the same thing, except when the tour eventually ends after a few weeks, you don't ever have to see that person again.
Because you live so much of your life on the road, so you don't have a lot of like things, like you have very few things. I'm currently gathering more things.
I really the only, like, it's so weird. Like, I see a bunch of people that collect so many things. Even on the road, there's so many collectors. And I guess just because I've been on the road for so long that maybe I don't want to collect things except for like laminates and then some tour posters and everything. But I just recently moved into a place that's probably going to be permanent for a little while, at least back in Florida will be. And I'm starting to like actually hang up stuff, because in like my old place, I'd hang up like a few things, but I would never expand on it, because I knew that, I mean, when I lived in San Diego for a while with roommates, and they never saw me, because I would literally get off tour, be home for 3 days. And those 3 days, I probably wouldn't come out of my room. And then I'd leave again and just be gone for 3 months and come back for like a week and then be gone again for 2 months. So I didn't really care like what was on my wall or how like my place looked. And then when you're on the road, you have to be minimalistic. Like, you can't take like posters and shit on the road. Like, it's just a suitcase and a bag, but that's how you live like your whole life, is through a suitcase and a bag. So it's weird to come home and be like, oh, I actually have a space that's not just a bunk to like decorate and hang things up in. And now that I finally have a place, I've been like, me and my boyfriend have actually been like, decorating the place and like getting things to look nice. And I bought a couch and like all this stuff. So it's like, stuff's expensive, man. Like,
oh my God. Right.
Stuff's like,
why is a beanbag $200? It's a blanket. It's like a sack with some beans. Like, the beans are like
just a sack like with some beans.
Just a sack with some beans. Sorry, I'm really wanting a beanbag, like real bad.
I can tell. If you're listening to this and you want to donate to Kay's beanbag fund,
what's up, Love Sack?
The Kickstarter link will be below.
We're gonna kickstart every idea, everything.
Yeah, it's weird. I don't have in retrospect, I don't have a lot of things. I moved 3 times in the past year and a half, and all of my stuff can just fit in my car. I bought a bed in San Diego. It's still there. I didn't take it with me. I didn't care enough to take it with me. Like, I was like, I'm going to pack all my stuff in my car and just drive. Like, I went from Florida to California, and I went from California to Ohio. Now I went from Ohio back to Florida, and like, I don't want to have to rent a moving truck and like put my car on the back and go and spend a bunch of money. Like, whatever can fit in my car comes with me, and whatever doesn't, I obviously don't need it that much. So I've just let it go. And so now I'm actually at a place where like, okay, like, he has a bunch of stuff. So I'm like, okay, like, we'll probably take everything with us if we move somewhere. So like, I've like bought a couch, gotten a few things. I'm about to get like a computer desk and actually set up like a home like studio here so I can edit when I'm home and everything, and not just sit on my couch with my laptop anymore. So yeah, so it's this like a whole new adventure thing for me, is actually having a place that I want to look nice, because when I come home I want to actually relax, whereas before I didn't really care, because I was just, when I was on tour anyways, I was just crashing in hotel rooms or crashing on people's couches or in the van or in a bus or whatever. Like I didn't care where I slept as long as I had a place to lay down. And here it's like, okay, I can come home and actually have a place that I want to have. It's weird. It's very strange. Like going on the road and being on the road for months and being like the most minimalistic person ever, and then coming home and spending so much money on just like, I want a coffee table, so I'm gonna go buy a coffee table. It's like, god damn, like coffee tables are expensive, or like frames for posters are expensive. Like it's just,
oh my God, right?
It's so weird. Even like driving and paying for gas too. I'm just like, every time I get in my car after tour, I'm like, whoa, this is weird. But like, yeah, it's weird. It's weird because you like adjust your budget, and you're like, at least I do. Like I adjust like my budget in my spreadsheets when I'm on the road, because I don't have to pay for gas, don't have to pay for groceries. I don't have to, buy like, supplements on the road for the gym or like anything like that. And then I come home and it's like I spend a fuck ton of money because I'm just like buying all these things that I want to have in like my everyday to day life too. So it's weird, but it's cool. It's weird to talk about because only people that tour understand. And when you try to explain to someone that doesn't tour, they don't really get it, but it's also really hard to explain.
No, I totally understand what you mean. And I think a lot of that has to do with like the psychology of what we do. Cause like you spend most of your life on the road. So when you're home, you're like missing that. So you're like, I'm going to fill it with stuff.
I mean, yeah,
and I think that's our
so,
way,
yeah.
You know what I mean? But you're like, I get it though, but you do save a fuck ton of money on tour because you're not paying for gas and you're not paying for your food, and like
no, not at all. And like on top of like what you make well, not in everyone's case, but like when you get up to a certain point when you're touring, it's like you get a weekly salary plus you get the band gets hospitality, so there's pretty much whatever the band wants, which was like on the last run it was like Uncrustables and Lunchables and like all these Nutri-Grain bars, and such a stoner crew. But it was like, okay, if I was hungry, I didn't have to go out and eat. I could eat like an Uncrustable or a Lunchable. It's like, as shitty as that sounds, but like there's other bands that do lunch meat and everything like that. Like they have deli platters delivered. Like you get hospitality, plus you get paid every day for your food. Like you get a buyout, and then you get a per diem every week of like more like money allowed per day, so that you can go out, and if you need to buy like any toiletries or anything, you have money. So it's like you literally don't, if you don't want to, you don't have to pay for a single thing on the road if you don't want it. Like if you don't want it, then you don't have to pay for it.
It's amazing. I feel like people don't understand how much money we actually save when we're on tour. Like no wonder you don't have like a house or like whatever, you know what I mean? Like it makes so much sense. So many of these people that do tour full time.
Yeah, I know so many full-time people that literally will just like throw all their stuff in storage, and then they'll sublease, or what's the word, sublet? Like when you only sublet, yeah. They'll just do that for like their time they're off. Or I even know people that take it as far as like all their stuff's in storage, and when they're home, they're only home for like a week at a time. So they'll just like crash on French couches that are like, hey, when you get off tour, crash on my couch for a while, like so you don't have to go buy a place, or they'll pay for that week to stay there, whatever else. At the same time, I guess why I want to buy so much stuff when like I'm home too is like you see like other people's houses, and you like see stuff online of people like making their apartments look so nice, and you're like, can't wait till I can have that one day. And then when you finally get the chance, it's like, I need to buy all the things right now before I leave again so I can enjoy them while they're here. Like,
yep.
So I don't know. It's weird.
It's weird. We are weird creatures. Oh my God.
Just the fact that people living on the road is weird, like traveling circus, but there's so much money to be made. That's like, I don't know. It's so weird because like I had like explained it to my parents because they were like, well, do you want to, you're eventually going to like move up, but is there even a place to move up? And I was like, yeah. I was like, people make 6 figures a year just doing like merch. because they work for the right bands that, they get the right salaries, because it's not an easy job to do it. Like, especially if you want stability, like to have a family and then to just be like, all right, well, I'm going to leave every couple of weeks for months at a time and then come back, but that's how we're going to survive. And that takes a toll and it's tough, but that's what people have to do. And that's what musicians do. And, they work super hard and their crew works just as hard as they do. So, you have to get compensated, especially when you're working on a multi-billion. I mean, think about like the tour manager for like Beyonce or someone. Like that girl's probably, that girl or guy is probably making a shit ton of money, but it's because that's because they have to deal with a multi-billion-dollar tour, for 2 months with like hundreds and hundreds of people on a crew. Like, so it's crazy, but yeah, I mean, that's where it leads up to. It leads up to those jobs. I mean, like it's same with Josiah. Josiah was going from filming Woe's Me and, making a little bit of cash to now he's working for Shawn Mendes, and he can afford to, go on vacation when he gets off tour, and he pays all of his rent. He lives nice because he works with a band that can afford to pay him like a normal salary.
That's crazy. Amazing.
It is.
It's crazy. Yeah. Like I feel like people underestimate what we do as far as like that goes, as far as like the money aspect of it goes. Cause yeah, there's money to be made out there. People are always going to want photos, like people are narcissistic. That's why we have jobs.
It's the entertainment industry in a whole, like there's just so much money in entertainment, and like that, and you can go wherever from this, you could go on to direct like huge motion pictures and make millions of dollars off of those. And where'd they start? Probably doing something something similar to this, or, filming sports. I mean, Casey, who works for MGK, like he was just doing sports photography before and decided to go out with a band, and like, look where he is now. He's like one of the top influencers on Instagram. He works for like Hilton or Marriott or someone, and he goes around and makes them like content, like goes to their different hotels and like awesome areas and makes them like, photo and video content to like distribute out for commercials. Like it's insane. Like, but like, that's where, like, if you work hard enough and you're dedicated enough and you do the right things, you have to want it. You have to want it. If you want it, you'll get it. You have to want it. So someone used to tell me growing up, like, if you want it, you can have it. You have to want it. Oh no, I can't do it. No. You have to want it. It's just, lame joke.
Such a good joke. So because you spend so much time away from home and like you don't have that many bills, like where's your money going, son? Do you just buy gear? Are you just a gearhead like the rest of us?
Yeah, I as of recently have started making spreadsheets, so I know where all my money's going. And I mean, I have, like, now that I have a place, I do have normal bills. Like, I have rent, I have a car payment, and then on top of that, I pay for, like, I'm like leasing out the drone right now, which I'm probably just going to pay off soon anyways. But, like I did through DJI, I did that. So I have like that, like I'm paying off like my iPhone, things like that. But a lot of it's like my website, SmugMug. Sometimes I got Prince-Mate. Now I got Costco. So SmugMug's going to go goodbye for right now. But like Adobe,
yep.
Things like that.
God, it's so expensive. Oh,
yeah.
God, I hate it.
I mean, yeah, but and like Apple Music, and then I have Planet Fitness as a gym, so if I'm on the road, I can go to either one. So I pay for that monthly. But all my expenses are under $1,000. So I mean, that's good for monthly. But yeah, I mean, I just save it. Like I just have money. I have money saved, so if something goes wrong, I don't have to stress. Like right now, if my camera were to break, I wouldn't have to, like, obviously it would suck, but like I wouldn't have to worry about it because I have saved money up to where like I can go out and I can buy new gear if I want to, or I can invest in something. But yeah, I mean, I just invest it back into my gear. Most of the time, it's me like putting gear I buy on my credit cards, and then I just will slowly just pay off my credit cards. That's just how I like to do things. But I mean, yeah, I'm also eyeing the new A7R3, so I'm like, oh
my God. Oh, I was listening to a podcast about it.
Were you?
Dude. Oh my God.
You have to link me to that, because I'm still, because literally it's like I'm on the verge of like just selling my A7S2 and getting it.
Wow.
Yeah, but I have to look more into it. Like I want field tests. I want comparisons. Like I need it before I can even buy. Like my process before I buy anything expensive like that is I drive myself crazy. Looking into gear and like making sure I'm buying the best thing for what I need it for. It's insane. I'm about to probably buy a new computer, so I'm like freaking out that I'm going to be looking at like every single option. Even though I know I'm going to buy a Mac, I have to look at every single option.
You're like, I'm going to look at Alienware because it has a fast processor and nice resolution, but you're like, but
I want to run Final Cut Pro on it.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I'm like, I don't know. Like I said, I just try to save money that way. Like when I come home, I can, buy a coffee table or buy a couch, and it's like, okay, or, go out to dinner, or like when I'm on the road during off days, like treat myself to like a nice meal with like the band or whatever else, it's like, I like having I don't like that mindset that like too many of the people I grew up with have, where it's like, they just spend their paycheck and then like just pray until the next paycheck comes. And it's like, I never wanted to do that. I never want to live paycheck to paycheck. Like there's nothing wrong with it too. If you're in that situation, not everyone is in the same situation I am. Or so it's like, I can't look down at all on those people, and I don't, it's just that I personally can't do that, and I don't want to do that. And I've made it a point to not do that ever. Like, I don't ever want to have to stress about money and go borrow it from my parents or anything, or go take out a loan or anything, just because like, that's just what I don't like doing. And also I like having it in case my parents need money or my boyfriend needs money or anything like that. Like if my friends are in a tough spot and they need some help, I'm more than happy to throw them some cash because I know they're good for it. Like I don't mind being that person, but I'm just like, I don't know, money is not like a huge thing for me. It's just more like it can buy me better gear. So, but I don't like to live like paycheck to paycheck or like I hate money in general. It's like, it is literally the root of all evil, but, but at the same time, like you need it to survive. And except if Bitcoin comes through, because honestly,
I don't know, because if you think about Bitcoin, now we're going to get into that.
No, that's the thing. Me and you have to talk about that off podcast.
We'll talk about that. I don't
know much about it,
okay.
But I want to know more about it.
Okay,
I just know that I watched this video on this 18-year-old kid who invested so much stock in it a few years ago, and now he's a billionaire, and I'm just like kicking myself because I've heard about Bitcoin for the longest time, but it's just finally took off.
It's always a gamble.
We're not getting into Bitcoin right now because it's another hour-long conversation. But
yes, it is. Okay, so tell me any last words, sir. Any last words?
Any last words?
And where we can find you.
Well, last words are stay in school. And what is that shirt? What is that shirt that has that? It's like eat your school, stay in vegetables. You know what I'm talking about?
I know the one that's like what is it? Stay in drugs or something, and don't
stay in drugs, eat your school, stay in vegetables, something. I don't know. Yeah. I don't know. I hope you enjoyed the podcast, I guess. I don't know. I don't know. I will say this. I don't know how many people, how many viewers do you usually get per episode? Does it show you?
I don't really, not yet. I don't know how to find the analytics.
Well, I'll say for famous last words that I am famous last words. God damn it. I will say that I am no expert when it comes to anything, but if anyone listening is an aspiring photographer, videographer, or just wants to be on the road and wants to talk to me or whatever, I'm definitely 100% down to talk to anybody about anything. If they need help with anything, I'm down. Like, I definitely don't want, I know how many times I would try to hit people up when I was growing up, and I just get no response. And people get busy. It's completely understandable. But, I'm not a jerk. At least I try my best not to be in any situation. So if, you ever need advice or anything, come to me. And like I said, I'm not an expert, so I might not even be the right person to go to. I'm not trying to like glorify myself or by any means. But yeah, if you want some advice or whatever, feel free to hit me up. I try to respond to everyone that hits me up about that kind of stuff, because I know that I was in that situation once, and if I had someone helping me out or just give me a few pointers on things, it would have helped me out. So I guess those are my final last words, and then you can find me all over social media at Where's Bryce.
So, did you enjoy this episode? I hope you did. If so, please do me a favor. Just give it a rating. Give me 5 stars. Give me a rating. Tell people what you thought about it. Was it helpful? Was it insightful? Did you hate it? Let us know down below. I will talk to you guys next week on Project Freelance. If you want to keep up with me and all the things I do, you can find me at kanagoniophotography.com, at kanagoniophotography on Instagram. If you want to keep up with my music, chasing satellites. Go check it out. All the links to all the good stuff are down below, including the people that Bryce and I mentioned in this podcast. Check all this stuff out. I'll talk to you guys next week. Let me know who you want to be on this podcast. Hit me up on Instagram. I'll talk to you guys soon. # Project Freelance.